Hello, I'm SP from Better Podcasting, one of the many podcasts on the GonnaGeek.com network. It's a podcast about podcasting for the hobbyist or passion or independent podcaster. And one of the things that we get asked all the time on Better Podcasting is how do you edit? What sort of program do you use? And what kind of effects you use? The whole gambit. So I started this YouTube channel, which I'm streaming live on Twitch, by the way, and I am doing walkthroughs of my edits. So these are not meant to be instructional. These are meant to just be walkthroughs, and I explain as I go along, but it's not a dedicated course where one video is definitely teaching you X, and then video 2 teaches you Y, so on and so forth. You get the whole package along the way. In this particular video, what I will be doing is I will be loading all of the files for my next Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. edit, which is a podcast on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're talking about the Punisher in Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 261. I start my edit in Vegas Movie Studio 15.0 Platinum, and then I transition into Audacity for a final audio cut through. So that's my editing process and what I do from beginning to end. So this actually starts the whole process. I'm in Vegas Movie Studio. I've got it up on the screen right now. It's 15.0 Platinum. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to load the tracks, load everything in there. And I've done this by creating a template. So I'll just load the template. It's conveniently located on the recent files within here. So boom, there's the template, and it will populate the tracks and all the effects that I have preloaded in there. So I don't have to fool around with that every single time. This is an amazing, if you're going to be editing a podcast week in and week out, if you can come up with some sort of template, especially if you're using a non-destructive editor that has preloaded effects into each channel, this will save you a lot of time eventually. You can change this template from time to time too. It doesn't have to stay static, but this is where I start from. And then I've got all my files located in a drive on my computer already. And here are all the files. These three files right here, these Zoom 14, also coded at the end with LOS 261. I renamed those files as I was bringing them over from the SD card from my Zoom H6. So those are my files. TR1 or track 1 is me. Track 2 is the incoming audio from the ladies that joined me for this episode. And track 4 is the sound effects that I use, all so that I can record them on different tracks. And I do this by going into my Mackie Pro FX 16V2 mixer and then out different outputs to isolate them, whether it's the AUX send or Mon send, you might heard it called, or the FX or one of the sub channels. Everything's isolated onto its own channel, so I'm only recording the one thing. The one caveat is with the incoming Hangouts on air or YouTube Live video or audio that I'm recording, it is all my co-hosts together. So I only have on my end the recording of audio of everybody together. So those are those three tracks. This here is the video capture, which I did using OBS Studio. Eventually, I'm going to be transitioning over to XSplit. Funny note, I'm actually using XSplit to stream this live to Twitch right now. And then this is just one of the bumps that I had to bring on board. Actually, now that I have the template open, I'm going to put that as part of the template. Boom. And just to minimize this, that's what I did, by the way, is I actually took the file and I just clicked and dragged it up to this little area. I could also click the add media and do it that way. And I'm going to save this template. Woohoo! There's one less thing I have to worry about later. Okay, so that is the Daredevil bump, and then Michelle's track, and then I think this is Lauren's track. So as you can see, Movie Studio could take all types of files. Can take WAV files, can take MP4 files, can take MP3 files, can take FLAC files. It's one of the really good things that we like, Steven and I like, about Movie Studio 15.0 is it can take FLAC files. So this is a lossless file that's kind of like a WAV file, but it's a lot less in terms of storage. So you get like about a third or less sometimes of the amount of space it takes to store those. So as you podcast longer and longer, you take a look at podcast storage, a little bit more lengthy, especially if you keep all the old files. If you want to go back and remaster at any point in time or play around or something like that, which incidentally I'll be doing here pretty shortly. Not in this video, but in the coming weeks and months, I'll be going back and remastering some stuff. Probably stream that live here. Okay, so project, we've saved it already. So I've updated the template. I'm going to save this as LOS 261. So LS stands for Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's the podcast that I'm doing. And then video edit. And now I've saved the template as its own file, so I don't have to worry about messing around with the original template. The next thing I'll do is I'll preload the tracks. I'll select everything by hitting the shift key, and then just dragging all the way down or clicking all the way down. I'm going to hit the control key because I don't need to bring that Daredevil bump in, and I've selected that. So basically deselecting that from the files. And then I'm going to click and drag these files up. So now they're all loaded. Oops. Minimize that. They're all loaded in the files that I can use. Now the first video that, or file that I populate is actually the video file. So I bring that down. You want it set, yeah, we'll match it. And what it's doing right now in the bottom left hand corner, it's actually rendering the file for use within Movie Studio. This can take a while depending on if you have a high resolution camera like a 4K camera. That video takes a while to render. I know so because all my drone footage is at 4K, so that gets to be 4 times as much fun because I believe this is either 720 or 1080, one of the two. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to right click within the video part. I'm going to go to switches. No, I'm getting a little bit. Okay. Right click, go to switches once it's done rendering, and go to disable resample. This adds jitter to the final rendered product, and I prefer not to do that. So, okay, that is the file. All 125, well, how much? How long are we talking? Yeah, 125 minutes, or 1 hour, 25 minutes. Not all of that is the actual podcast. How do I know this? Well, first of all, I know we didn't record that long, but second of all, I'm going to start dragging down my files. So track 1 is me. I already know that because I recorded that. I could have relabeled that as me, but I didn't. Just because I know the naming convention. And this goes in the Hangout track. And this will go in the soundboard track. And as you know, notice the template is all set up for how I'm actually bringing it in. So the podcast, by the way, starts with a cold opening right before that intro and then goes all the way to the end. And if I look down here, see that? Yep. If I look down here, it says it's 1 hour, 1 minute. So that is the starting point for the podcast, 1 hour, 1 minute. It's going to be less than that when it goes out to audio, but then see all this here, this 24 minutes worth of pre-show. I'm going to get some post-credit scenes or outtakes, whatever you want to call them, from that. Maybe 1 or 2 from here, and then maybe 1 or 2 from the rest. So even though the podcast itself will reduce in size from 1 hour, 1 minute to whatever, I'm just going to nominally say something around 53, 55 minutes. Then I'm going to actually add some onto the end, some post-credit scenes for our fans that listen all the way through. As you can tell, there's different sizes of files. I started the audio recording before I started the actual podcast. So we need to line all this stuff up. One of the places to line it up will be at the end when the beep, beep, beeps happen. That's a good place to line everything up. Okay, now we're going to select on the time bar up there. I selects where the cursor is. I'm trying to select an area. Oh, and then I'm scrolling in and out using the wheel of the mouse. Basically, since I know the video is close to, is the one that I need to slide around, because I'm not going to slide around the longer tracks. There we go. Now, from previous experience, I know that whenever I talk, it's something to do with the delay in the render or something that I've got going on in Movie Studio. I haven't been able to figure that out yet. But what I need to do actually is push that forward a little bit, because you'll see in a second. Well, I'll actually put that back to where it was. And then you'll see how my lips do not match what I say. I like how they labeled it a limited series, especially after those viewers on the Netflix streaming series that might have felt a little bit betrayed about the cancellation of Iron Fist and Luke Cage. So at least they know this isn't meant for a long haul. It takes a little while for the preview to actually catch up. But if you notice, whenever I say a hard constant like Luke Cage, that my audio was out of sync with my video. And what I've learned that I need to do is actually shift the video to the left or shift the audio to the right and see how that looks, and then get it as close as I can. I like how they labeled it a limited series, especially after those viewers on the Netflix streaming series that might have felt a little bit betrayed about the cancellation of Iron Fist and Luke Cage. So at least that might have been a little bit too much. I like how they labeled it a limited series, especially after those viewers on the Netflix streaming series that might have felt a little bit betrayed about the cancellation of Iron Fist and Luke Cage. So at least that was much better. So I'm going to leave that as it is. And I have lined those tracks up. And then Lauren, I'm going to bring her track down, select it, and bring it on down. And that will render. And then I will select a spot where she is talking. Ooh, thought that's what was going on. She was talking there. Nope, that's not lined up right. No. I'm lost. That should be when she's, you know what? I bet you that's not her talking.
To tell us about your experiences with
That's her.
funeral. This time I was just feeling really, really bad that day. But we ended up still having a good night.
Oh, you know what? No, that's right. Thing. Yep, there we go. And this I can line straight up because I've already time shifted it. Oh, take the solo off. So
that's a really long time.
All right. It sounded a little echoey, and I can get more exact, but this is just to line it up here. Rations.
We don't get trick-or-treaters at my place.
All right. So that's off enough at both ends to make me want to shift it a little bit.
Treaters at my place. So
be good to find hard. All right, right there. Right there is good enough. Now that I've had it lined up, I'm Director SP.
I'm Agent Lauren.
That's a little bit better.
We don't get trick-or-treaters at my place.
That's good enough. So that is Lauren's track that's lined up. Ideally, you wanted to get it really well in there. Like, there is no echo back and forth, no reverb or anything like that, but it is what it is. And then Michelle, I'm going to drop her down here. It's going to be roughly in the same place, but I'm going to move that up to the top here so that I can, guessing it's going to be something over like there, maybe. Yep, I think that'll work out.
Exchange. Exchange. At first, I'm going, is Karen there?
Okay, that's good because I'm just going to mute the Hangout from there on in. And then I'm going to move Michelle. Actually, I'm going to keep Michelle there. I'm going to move Lauren up. I'm going to move me down. I'm going to, is the video track muted? Yeah, it should have been. And Haley is not with us for this episode, so there she goes. I could actually delete her track for this, but I'm just going to move it down. And then I have the intro, copy of intro, outro. Oh, you know what? I wanted to rename that. I'll rename that next time in the template to pre-roll. And there we go. Now, why is it so important to have a template? Because let me go into the effects, the track effects. I've already got it preloaded with everything. I've got my denoiser, I've got my compressor, which is Gmax that I use. I've got a noise gate track. I've got deverb on my track. How much is that? 6? That might be a bit much. I might need to change that in the template. And then Isotope RX5. You know what? This is another thing that I need to change. I actually have 7 now, and I might just add that to the track FX by plugin chain adding RX7 denoiser, add, and then I'm going to add the declip or click. Those are the 2 that I use. I'm going to add those. I'll press OK, and then I can mess around with them in here. So the denoise is the first one. I'm going to actually get rid of 5. I don't need to run both. This is Isotope's RX7 elements, by the way, that I'm using. And then the declicker, I'll do that. I'll take it offline, though, and I'll remove that. So now I have a whole new track. This is cool. Low latency sensitivity. Awesome. I'll have to look into all of these. How I periodic clicks, random clicks. That's what I want. I don't want to add, I just want to use random clicks. Random. And update. So there we go. Denoise, adaptive mode. I like adaptive. Just keep all the presets there. Track noise, minus 30 dB. And the deverb, I'll have to look into why I've got that on. I shouldn't for my track. But each of these tracks have the effects preloaded. And as you can see, all the time that it took for me to go in and do the RX7 updates for my track, I'm going to have to do that for everybody else's track. So that's just time that I don't have to do. And then all the tracks are aligned and I can go and start editing. One thing to note, though, that declicker takes so much processing power that I've disabled it for my editing and preview. And then when I actually go ahead and render it, I will turn that on for all the tracks. So that's it for this video. I've successfully loaded everything. I'm going to save it. Boom. And then what I'm going to do is the next video, I'm going to probably start at the very beginning because I'm not going to give away all our secrets, all that post-credit scenes that I'm going to actually be taking out. Those will be gone the next time I do a video, and we will start editing Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 261. Just as a spoiler reminder, this is about the Punisher, so if you haven't seen the Punisher season 1 on Netflix already and you don't want to be spoiled, either watch Punisher first or skip the video. And that's all I've got to say for this one. Thanks very much for dropping by. If you have any questions, go ahead and hit me up on Twitter at Stargate Pioneer, or you can email me, stargatepioneer@guineageek.com, or I will be posting this on YouTube. If you comment on the YouTube video down below, please leave a timestamp in the video of where your question is, and I'll be able to go in and answer your question. All right, that's it for this time. I will see you all later. Bye.